Hello, everyone. Welcome to this open event at the Creative Computing Institute. My name is Georgina Capdevila, and I will be your host in this session. And today we are here to share all about our undergraduate courses on the subject area of creative computing and creative robotics at the Creative Computing Institute, which, by the way, we'll be referring to as CCI from now on. And the two undergraduate courses that we will be covering today and that you'll have the chance to hear more about are the BSc in Creative Computing and the BSc in Creative Robotics. Not only you will get to hear all about these exciting courses, You'll also have the chance to meet the course leaders and program directors that are leading on these subject areas at an undergraduate level. And you'll also have the chance to hear from current students at these courses and also graduate from one of these. So today, to let you know who will be with us in the room, in this virtual room, we will invite Eva Verhoeven, who's the program director at the Creative Computing Institute for the undergraduate level for Creative Computing and Robotics. We will have Hooman Samani, course leader and senior lecturer on Creative Robotics. Kenneth Lim, acting course leader of the BSc in Creative Computing. And then we'll have the student with us, Diana Galindo, who's a current student at the BSc in Creative Computing at her year 3. Daoud Khan, current student at the BSc in Creative Robotics. And finally, Cecile Baruch, who graduated from the BSc in Creative Computing last year. To give you an overview of how the session today is structured, we will start off with a presentation from the team of academics leading these courses. We'll start with Eva, who will walk us through the vision and mission of this set of creative computing and creative robotics courses at CCI. Right after, you'll have the chance to meet and get to know the senior lecturers and course leaders who will be leading you in this journey. And we'll start with Ken and we'll follow with Hooman. During this time, you'll hear about their expertise and vision for the courses that they are currently leading. And it's also a fantastic opportunity for you to get inspired by them and the potential of studying under their umbrella at CCI. And last but not least, we'll move on to the Q&A section, where we will invite Diana, Daoud, and Cecile to share about their experience being students at CCI, where we will also welcome questions from the audience. So we encourage you to interact with us using the chat function and share any doubts, questions, queries that you have about the Institute or the set of courses or what it's like to be studying at CCI. Also note that if you find yourself in any other social platform such as LinkedIn or Twitter, and you're catching this stream there, feel free to jump on YouTube and use the chat function, because this will be the only way that we can receive your questions and your comments. So we'll look forward to hearing from you. And we'll also keep an eye on the chat during the session, and we will do our best to answer all your questions during this Q&A section in the end. And before we continue, just a note to say that if you have difficulties following along the session, please know that this online event is being recorded and it will be re-uploaded on CCI's YouTube channel with English closed captions. So don't worry if you miss any details, you'll have the chance to catch up at your own pace as well. So let's get this started. It's a pleasure for me to invite to this stream Eva, Ken, and Hooman. And I invite you to give them a warm welcome. Hello. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you very much for hosting the session, Georgina. We're glad to be here. I do a quick introduction to myself and will then pass on to my colleagues. My name is Eva Verhoeven. I'm the program director for creative computing and robotics at undergraduate level. My background is in digital arts. I work at the intersection between creative practice and technology through research and through teaching. I'm the co-founder of Super Systems Studio, where we use critical and investigative practices to look at contemporary issues at the interface of ecological, political, and technical systems. I integrate theory and practice in my work, and I know my colleagues will also highlight where integration of theory and practice exists within the courses. And research outputs for me have taken the form of installations, but also publications, performances, curatorial projects. I will pass on to Ken.
Hey everyone, I'm Kenneth Lim, the acting course leader for the BSc Creative Computing course. And kind of for my own practice, my own background, I deal a lot with kind of research into language in the digital landscape. But at the same time, I'm also very active in the open source creative coding scene. I help maintain the P5JS project. And kind of through that, that also feeds quite well into the course that we're going to look at today, and kind of how we think about, say, creative computing, and what kind of approach that we can take that will kind of prepare you for the landscape that is creative computing.
Hooman?
Hi everyone, I'm Hooman. I'm the course leader for Creative Robotics at CCI, and I'm a creative roboticist. It means I like to combine art and robotics together and to understand better basically what Eva and Ken said. If you replace all the words of code, tech, and so on, and replace it with robotic, that is who I am. And today we will discuss more about the concept of creative robotics and introduce you to this interesting domain.
Thank you. So, Georgina, unless there's anything else, I'm just going to be off. What is the CCI? Before I actually think about this particular issue, I just wanted to briefly say, where is the CCI? We are part of the University of the Arts London, which offers a really large range, extensive range of courses in art, design, fashion, communication, performance, for which we have a long-standing history, but we also offer courses in creative computing, in robotics, and computer science. UAL is ranked the second in the world for art and design in the 2022 QS World University Rankings. And we're made up of 6 colleges, which are dotted all over London. But we're also made up of 4 institutes. This is a slightly more recent development. We've got these 4 institutes. They've come online at sort of different times. The CCI being one of the oldest institutes with its, I believe, 5 years by now. And we've got other institutes in storytelling, decolonizing arts, fashion, textiles, and technology. And the CCI is the only institute at this point with a set of courses. And while we are research intensive, we also offer courses at undergraduate and postgrad level, and really think about the integration of teaching, of research, and knowledge exchange. So as an institute, we work at the intersection of creativity and computational technologies. We are part of how UAL explores how technology is shaping our world and prepare a new generation, to shape this new world. We explore computer science and creative practice through innovative courses, through knowledge exchange, and through research opportunities. We also have a strong social mission that underpins everything that we do. We think about digital inclusion, so we create opportunities for marginalized people to access creative technology, and not just access, but also build, learn, and produce with creative technology. Sorry, I'm in a room where the light switch is off, so every now and then I'll be waving. That's not yet working. Good. Okay. Diversity in technology. We are mindful of how technology develops and impacts on society. And we also think about digital entrepreneurship. We create entrepreneurship opportunities for marginalized people. So the program that I look after is a set of these courses, 5 courses to get all together, but Georgina has already mentioned, today we're looking at the 2 BSc courses, in particular, the Creative Computing course, and Ken will talk us through that, and the Creative Robotics course, and Hooman will talk us through that. So at this particular point, I'm going to hand over to Ken.
Right, thanks very much, Eva. So hi everyone again. I'm going to introduce you to the BSc Creative Computing course. And as a little bit of a kind of overview of the course, at the BSc Creative Computing course, you have the opportunity to engage with various different technical skills and knowledge. So things like coding, app and web development, digital experiences, installations, data visualization, AI and machine learning, computational ethics and physical computing, and many other things, right? You will learn skills that are essential to working in the ever-evolving creative digital industry, while also developing a critical and innovative approach to technology. So the course itself is structured into in a sense, 4 years. So there's 2 different entry points to the course. You can entry at year 0, which is more or less like a foundational year, or you can have entry at year 1. So we're going to look at each of the years in turn. So it goes from year 0 to year 3. And I'll just kind of give you a brief description of what kind of things you'll be exposed to in the different years. So in year 0, the gist of it is to give you a basic understanding of creative computing, to kind of give you a background that will prepare you for the rest of your course at the BSc. So you will be taught basic coding, creative practice, and digital production. So that is the main content of the year 0. For year 1, we'll start to broaden your computational skill. So we'll look at more advanced coding, we'll look at data, math, and methods, we'll look at creative making and computational practices, we'll go into sound and image processing techniques, and you also start working with physical computing as well. And as you move into year 2, we'll start looking more into using your existing skills that you learned in your year 0 and 1, and how you can apply that practically. So we'll start looking at, deeper explorations of creative computing in practice. We'll look at experimental human-computer interaction. We'll start making web and app development. We'll look at big data and social platforms, and also creative data visualization. And between year 2 and year 3, there is also a possibility for you to do an optional year, which is called the Diploma in Professional Studies, which is essentially a placement year where you would be able to work to have a year that would let you work at a specific company. So it could be a creative studio, it can be a technology company, but that would be a kind of possibility for you to take that year to work in industry before you come back to study on the finish your 3rd year. And in your 3rd year, it is the chance for you to start situating your creative and computational practice. So you look at more advanced topics, so things like machine learning, the art and artificial intelligence, computational communities and professional platforms, and finally, of course, you will have a final graduation project that you will have a longer period to kind of complete. So in terms of teaching and support at the BSc Creative Computing course, our teaching is structured mostly around different kinds of sessions. We have workshop sessions, lab sessions. We do lectures. Most of them are pre-recorded lectures. And then at the same time, you'll be set a bunch of different creative and technical projects as throughout the course itself. And you also engage in academic writing as part of the research aspects of the course as well. And so to give you a brief idea of how a typical class is structured, so a typical class, you would have several classes a week. So for each class, we go roughly with the same structure as you can see here. So each class will be more or less 4 hours long. You will start with individual work where your tutors will assign you a task in class that you work individually. And say the next hour will be say more group work, whereas you have the opportunity to work collaborative with your fellow students on a specific topic. That could be a research project, that can be a creative project, depends on the specific topics that we're talking about. And there will also be Q&A and individual tutorials as part of each classes. And then finally, we also have pre-recorded lectures and tasks that you have the opportunity to watch at your own pace to kind of just digest any knowledge that we present to you for a good period of time. There's also bookable one-to-one support with tutorials with the subject tutors, with our technical team who can provide very good technical support around coding and physical computing and other skills, and also pastoral tutorials with an assigned personal tutor. So let's have a look at the CCI show. So at every end of year, students will be given the opportunity to show their work to the public through a graduate showcase. So our show branding from last year reflected the role of computation as part of an artistic process with soft body physics, as you can see on the slides here, forming the base of the interaction. So to show you some of the work, so on the right, you can see a kind of mushroom-based sculpture, and this is followed by a kind of generative machine learning model in the context of painting over here. And following that, you will see a project that was made using digital embroidery machine that overlays data of colonial shipping routes with the routes of contemporary fast fashion shipping containers. So that explores the relationship between trade and capital today. And this particular project, this large-scale kinetic sculpture is built by 2 students to explore the hidden role of human labor in machine learning-based artworks. So to achieve this, they built a human-powered zoetrope. So as you can see here, it's kind of human paddle-powered, to explore the relationship between the generative image creation and early animation techniques. Right, so let me hand it off to Hooman, who will introduce the BSc Creative Robotics.
Thanks, Ken. So the Creative Robotics course basically is complementing the creative computing, which Ken just shared with you. And we have lots of intersection. The overall framework and the structure is very similar. If you look at the courses that we offer at CCI and in general at UAL, basically, if you look at all these courses and imagine them as friends, creative robotics and creative computing are best friends. And we can look at creative robotics as kind of embodiment to creative computing. You know, in the world that superheroes are Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, we believe we need a new Da Vinci. And specifically, Da Vinci used to be an engineer from one side and an artist from other side. But nowadays, we can have Mona Lisa to have the robotic version of Da Vinci. That is how interesting creative robotics can be. To understand creative robotics, imagine stand-up comedian in the form of robots. Imagine Shakespeare theater where robots are also playing along with humans. Or even imagine going to a concert where robots and humans are playing together. And that is the possibility that the world of creative robotics is offering to us nowadays. And by studying creative robotics, you would be able to basically come up with these ideas and innovative ways that basically change the way that we are looking at the art from one side and robotics from other side. To realize your imagination, let us show you a little video that we made with our students and our technicians. So here the video is showing that basically a robot is doing the industrial job and getting tired. And because it's a bit of boring job, the robot decides to stop it and maybe reach out to the sound system. And because I want to talk on this video, so we don't play the music on top of that, but basically the industrial robot decides to be a DJ. and in the form of having this kind of robot party. And and then people and robots start to basically dance together. After the sound is played, the robots start to dance and start to move to that. This is a Creative Robotic Lab. It's a place in CCI. Our students are working together to build new kind of robots, and we have two different structures. You can hear now with the sound how it sounds in the lab. That is just the basic idea to show you the basic idea of the Creative Robotic Lab and what our students are doing in this environment. And the way we work with our students and as technicians about creative robotic, we use this concept of creative robotic studio. In general, in CCI, we have lots of open spaces and shared spaces. So this creative robotic lab is part of this shared space. As you can see on the top left, that is the lab where students are able to spend their time working on the projects. In addition, we also have a physical computing lab, we have digital publication lab, we have classrooms, we also have places such as, for example, kitchen. And the concept of kitchen is quite interesting. It's a place that people are socializing. Let's say you finish your class, you're on break, you are a creative robotic student, you go to the kitchen, have a cup of coffee, have your lunch, for example. Then you will see a student from creative computing, or you see a student from different field, or you see your lecturers or technicians. So there are lots of interaction during these sessions in the kitchen. We are also organizing events. For example, we have this event called Creative Robotic Party, where we have workshops, hackathons, competitions, and so on. And in this way, basically, we are very different from traditional way when you just go to the classroom, professor is teaching you. Instead, most of the time that you are in the university, basically, you are interacting with different kind of people from different disciplines. Also, the students are involved in lots of activities. For example, on the top right, you can see one of our BSc Creative Robotics students demoing a robot to our visitor from Sony in Japan. Or in the lower left, you see our students are playing the game that technician designed in our dark lab. And this is the style that you can expect when you start to study creative robotics at CCI. So this is the basic idea of where you are, and the diagram of the course is basically presenting you what you are learning. It is very similar to what we have in creative computing, and always we have three elements in every block, which we call semesters. You have technical aspect, you have critical aspect, and you have practical aspect. So in every week, you can expect to learn coding from one side, for example, start to learn to make the robots in different forms, and also we also work with you on your critical thinking. We understand that the students who are coming to creative robotics are coming from different backgrounds. We have some students with art background. We have students with computer science background. We have students who built robot before. We have students which have no idea about art, no idea about robotics. So that's why our program is quite flexible. So in general, we don't expect you to have much of background. Instead, we would like you to have interest in art and technology at the same time. And the structure of the program is in a way designed that basically you can choose what you want to do. There is no exam. We don't have homeworks. Everything is based on projects, based on collaboration, and you can choose. If you want to have more towards the artistic part of the spectrum, that's fine. If you want to more on the tech part of the spectrum, that's fine. Or if you want to combine them all together. And then you can work on that over the years, which is very similar to creative computing. To learn this concept, we walk with you step by step, we guide you through, and we have lecturers, technicians, and different team members to support you. And over 3 to 4 years, you would be able to basically master the way you want and realize your dreams. Our students make lots of projects, and as I said, between creative robotics and creative computing, even we have students from creative computing who want to make projects in the form of robotics. For example, this is a work that was done by one of our former students, and adding robotic in the form of soft robot and machine learning to change the movement, or as you can see here, or we have a student who made a robotic hand. This is kind of project that you can think about different application. For example, we had a student who made this, or we had another student who made a robotic hand for sign language, for example. And also we have different projects, robots in the form of kinetic sculptures and so on. And of course, when you join us, you will spend also lots of time to work on your projects, and also to be able to have your own shows, exhibitions, and basically your graduation showcases. And having said that, I pass it to Eva to talk more about research and knowledge exchange.
Thank you, Hooman. That's great. So before we move on to our students and alumni, I just also wanted to show you the research and knowledge exchange intensive side of the CCI, because we really do think of these things as coming together and as integrated. The first piece of work I'm showing you is a piece by one of our staff, Winnie, who was awarded the Golden Nicker at Ars Electronica Festival this year. In Unerasable Characters, they explore the role of artificial intelligence in censorship within China's social media platform Weibo. I have a very brief video to show here in the background. So Winnie conducted data scraping of Weibo posts, capturing censored words and their deletion times. They created 3 works, including a book which is filled with seemingly nonsensical censorable material. A second work, which is shown here, displaying censored characters only for the duration that they were visible before they were censored. And a third work compiling an infinite scroll of censored words. So this work shows how digital technologies like data scraping and visualization can be used to critique and to explore the infrastructure of state censorship. We're engaged in a quite large-scale research project called Transforming Collections. It's a collaboration between quite a range of partners, including the Tate and the CCI. It's a project that aims to surface suppressed histories and re-evaluate artists and artworks that have been ignored or sidelined by dominant narratives, and to somewhat propose a sort of national collection that builds on and enriches existing knowledge with multiple and multivocal narratives. We also have projects like Interact ML, which brings machine learning, visual scripting to Unity, empowering game creators, for example, to develop novel gameplay mechanics and control schemes without writing code. So you can create ML models by joining nodes together and visualize in real time the data from a Unity scene in the graph. I will turn that down just a little bit and talk to you a little bit about Ignite as well, which is the sort of knowledge exchange side, or one of them for the CCI. Ignite is a program where, because we believe that new tools and technologies can propel business and creative professionals towards future innovations, we have set up this space to harness the power of computing to bring transformative research and expertise to creative industries around the world. So it's a space to bring research, innovation, creativity, and creative industries together. We also work on public engagement. I already mentioned our social mission, which is something that really works through everything that we do. And you can see this here, for example, also in the fact that we engage with our local communities through after-school clubs, for example, or a tech yard, which supports local people, local young people, through creative computing lessons, amongst many other sort of avenues we take when it comes to public engagement. And how this all fits into employability. This graph here comes from a report that was published by the government. It's called The Future of Work, Jobs and Skills in 2023. That was obviously published a few years ago. And it's interesting that we are now here in 2023. But it is still an interesting read in that it picks up on some of the things that also underpin our thinking at the CCI. For example, that converging technologies and cross-disciplinary skills will be one of the sort of key aspects for people to be able to move in and through work. The fact that disciplinary boundaries are blurring, for example, in creative robotics or creative computing, several different disciplines come together. We basically build the CCI on ideas of interdisciplinarity, which the government sees as one of the sort of key skills, being able to cross those disciplines for future generations. Another one is technological growth and expansion. We know this, we can see it, it's around us. And of course, we look at how technologies are shaping our world, but also how we can become active in this space. Interconnectivity and collaboration. Hooman already mentioned this, and again, it's something that runs through our courses. We work collaboratively, and it's a key skill that's been identified. And this idea of convergence of innovation. The government expects that more innovations will take place at disciplinary boundaries. So again, a strong call out for inter and cross-disciplinary practices. So the things that we have really sort of looked at to shape the courses that we invite you to join. So this is it from me and us, and I think I'm now going to pass back to Georgina and our students and alumni.
Thank you so much, Eva, for your introduction and presentation. Thanks, Ken. Thanks, Hooman, as well, for being here and sharing about the BSc courses that we are here to talk about today. So as Eva mentioned, now it's time for us to move into the Q&A section, which is very exciting because you'll get to meet 3 students and alumni that will be sharing about their experience here at CCI. So let's give them a warm welcome to, let me add them on the stage, Diana here, Daoud, and Cecile. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks, everyone. So now in this questions and answers section, we'll have around 25 minutes of our time to pick up any questions from the audience. We have already received a few, so we have a good start there. But first of all, I would like to invite the students and alumni sharing to share a little bit about their experience and introduce themselves, where they come from, what course have they joined or have graduated from, and hopefully it will be a nice way to start the conversation before moving on to the questions. So let's start first with Diana. Diana, would you like to share first a little bit about yourself?
Of course. Hi, everyone. My name is Diana, and I'm currently doing the BSc Creative Computing course in the final year. And well, before joining the course, I was working in a business and I was doing web development and content design. But then what motivated me to join the course was mainly the realization that I really enjoyed creating experiences for people and engaging with the user in new ways. So I found that the creative computing was this perfect intersection between being very creative but also having the technical skills and applying those. Right now, well, at the beginning when I joined, my main goal was improving my coding skills. But as I have been going through the course, I have also realized that it's been a change of thinking. So we are not only looking at how technical we are, but also how we look at ethical issues, humanities, creativity within technology. So I think that's been a key transformation in my ways of thinking. My practice has been lately focused on environmental issues and work with minorities, specifically in South America. So I think you had a slide in there, and that's one of the projects I worked on before for my human-computer interaction unit on the second year. And for this unit, I was focusing my project on a community that works in recycling plastic in Colombia. So I went on there to do some research and then to sort of understand if the product I had in mind could actually work for them. So this is not finished. This is a work in progress, but it's something I'm very proud of. And well, now this year, we're looking more at machine learning and artificial intelligence, which I think is quite relevant now with the AI Safety Summit, which is happening this week. And what I'm really enjoying of this unit is that we're looking at the technical side, but also, again, the ethical issues. And we combine these two thinkings of being able to code something, but also to socially be aware of how we're affecting the world, as it were, with our work. So I'm really enjoying this perspective of being able to be ethical, correct, but also technical. And I think that's it. I think one of the questions that I sort of wanted to share as well was what I'm going to do after uni. And I really want to work on this project I just shared. Even if I don't finish it for uni, I would like to just continue it and see how far I can get. But that's one of my passions. So that's a passion project. That's it.
Thank you, Diana. Thanks so much for sharing with us. Beautiful.
Thank you.
I think the next one up will be Daud. Daud, would you like to share a little bit about yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Daud Khan. I do creative robotics for UAL, and so this is my first year. I don't have as much of an interest that's defined as Diana, obviously, because I've just started my course. This is the first ever course, I think, that does robotics with art. And so my background comes from computer science. And so, initially, I was going to go into an engineering degree or computer science, but I wanted to do a degree that I would actually enjoy, something that, was different and interesting. And so I stumbled across UAL's creative robotics course, and it looked interesting. It seemed like something I'd actually enjoy. And so that was probably one of the best ideas that I've had, because UAL, they're very supportive of the students. The facilities that they have a lot of facilities. I know currently we have laser cutters, 3D printers, and for my course especially, we have so many robots. You've probably seen a lot of them in the video that Hooman showed. Right now, I didn't really have much of an interest in art, but the few weeks that I have had in my course, I've discovered a lot of different forms of art, I guess, visiting art galleries and that type of thing. And it's something that I never realized I enjoyed. So this university degree, this course, is pretty cool. What else? What else? My background, I come from outside London, and the people in my course also come from outside of England, right? There's a lot of diversity in our course, and so it's very interesting. It's really nice actually, because you get to learn about other people's cultures, right? Before this, I didn't know much about, you know, people outside of London or outside of England actually. I was very narrow-minded. But I have one friend and he tells us quite a lot about Chinese politics. So I don't know, it's very interesting. And the teachers or the lecturers, they're all very I don't view them as lecturers in the sense where I see them more as friends, right? I can approach them, Hooman especially. Hooman is a great lecturer. But yeah, no, I feel like I can just approach Hooman casually, and if I ever struggle with anything, I can go to him, I can talk to him, and you know, like the staff here are very supportive. Yeah, I think that's all for me.
Thank you so much, Zoe, for sharing about your experience. It was great to hear more about your story. Lovely. So moving on, we would love to hear from Cecile now. Cecile graduated last year from BSc Creative Computing. It's great to have you back, Cecile. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, so I graduated last year from the BSc Creative Computing. So I went to London I moved to London to study this. I did my high school in France. I'm French. And so I was hesitating between doing a technical course or a creative course. And looking through the courses, I found this one that was creative computing. I thought it was perfect, so I didn't have to choose anymore. So I came in here and I had a very good 3 years. I had a lot of opportunity to explore different things. And I also it was very interesting for me to learn about technology because I came out just from high school, so I didn't know much. And I was also free to explore different topics that I was interested in and different creative aspects and things like this. So it was very good exploration time for me. And now I'm studying a master's. I'm studying master's in computing and management. So that's management, something I had never learned about. So I was a little bit curious. And I'm still exploring different technologies that also have management and project planning, those kind of units. And it's been a very good time. I really see how my time at CCI has been useful for what I'm doing and how I'm thinking right now. And I also work as a facilitator now, and that's also something that I've had the opportunity to start thanks to being at CCI, because I had the opportunity to host workshops and learn about different things in terms of hosting. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you, Cecile, for joining us today. It's great to have you back at CCI. Actually, you're physically at CCI right now.
Yeah, I am.
Lovely. Thanks so much, everyone. So now we have entered the official questions and answers section. So here again, we encourage you to jump on our YouTube channel if you're watching here now, and if you have any question about the courses, about what it's like to study here, you have Daoud, you have Diana and Cecile here. You can take the most out of this chance and really hear from their lived experience. we don't have to tell you about it. You can hear it directly from them. And yeah, it's a great chance for you to just get to know everything about the Institute and the courses. So please use the chat function to reach out and share any doubts. And in the meantime, we have already received a few questions that we would like to start with. And the first one that I'm gonna put on the screen for us to cover is a question from Denise. Thanks so much for your question, Denise. And it's about the BSc in Creative Computing. And Denise is asking to clarify whether in year 3 they will do a half-year placement or internship, and then if they will continue with studies after. Eva, go for it.
Okay, thank you. So it works slightly differently at UAL, and it's, I believe, across all of UAL, actually. We offer you an additional year, which sits in between the second and the third year, if you want to do a year where you look at internships and placements. This is by then sort of discussion with your tutors at the time, but this is an additional year which sits in between those two moments in time. And you would then, if you do choose to do this, it's called a diploma for professional studies. If you choose to do this, then you come back into the third year and complete your third year with us at the CCI in the curriculum in the third year as is. There are, of course, always opportunities to do internships and placements during break times, as in summer breaks, spring breaks, and so on and so forth. But these are self-initiated opportunities that you can take, and you could always discuss with your tutors.
Thank you, Eva, for covering this one. Lovely. So moving forward, we also have another question from Denise, and it's about the UAL Creative Computing Institute diploma. Would you like to cover that one as well? Eva, would you like to share a little bit about it?
Absolutely, I can go for it. So it's a very special course that we offer. However, it's for existing UAL students from across UAL. If you think about the fact that we have courses in fashion journalism, in graphic design, in media studies, in fine art, all over UAL, and I'm sure I've missed out large amounts. These students can come to us again between their second and their third year to do the UAL diploma in creative computing with us at the Institute, and similarly to the professional, the diploma for professional studies I just talked about. It sits in between your second and your third year. So as a graphic design student at Chelsea College, you could choose to come to us after your second year. You stay with us for a year, and then you return to your home course and complete your course there, the graphic design course, and would then, for example, graduate with a joint BA in graphic design and creative computing.
Thank you, Eva, for covering that. We'll leave also the website link on the chat, just so you can check more about it. Also, there's on our YouTube channel, you'll find different events that we've done, the graduate shows during the lockdown. You can see a lot of work done by the students during the diploma. So yeah, there's lots of content that you can check on our channel. We'll make sure to put it on the chat for you to make it easier. And moving forward, we have another question from the audience, which I'm going to display on the screen. And it's about the entrance requirements for the courses. Eva, would you like to jump on that one as well, or shall we pass the mic to someone else?
Great. At this particular moment in time, the light switches off. Okay, I'm back. So we do have entry requirements. You can find them on our website, and that's why I was looking for these things right now. I don't know, Stefania or Georgina, if you wanted to add this to the comments and chats as well, because there are several different sort of entry points into this. If for example, you apply with A levels, we are looking for grades B, C, C. And then if you look at our website for both courses, you can see the breakdown of the entry requirements that you need. There is, of course, also the year 0, which has different and slightly lower entry requirements than the first year, and Ken's already pointed out that those are the sort of 2 entry points to our courses. So again, it's useful to look at that. I wonder if there's anything else we need to say. And I assume, Georgina or Stephanie, you've added, yes, brilliant. So it's been added to your to the comments, and you can look through this. I guess perhaps another thing to think about is that while we don't have portfolios that we look at, we do, of course, read your personal statements that you write for coming or for applying to the courses, and that is something that we look for. You having looked at the course, understanding what why you would like to apply to this, and your reasons for wanting to join us.
Thank you, Eva. Now that we touched on the application process, I thought that it would be very nice to hear from current students who have gone through that process as well, to maybe share a little bit about what was the process like for them. So I was wondering, maybe, Dawood, would you like to share a little bit what was the process like for you? Because I think you're the only one that more recently joined CCI.
Yeah. So for applying to UAL, it's quite straightforward, to be honest. I applied through UCAS with my school after A levels. And so you just fill out a couple of forms on UCAS, hopefully get your grades, and then, yeah, UAL will send you a link to fill out some more forms. There are quite a few forms to fill out, but other than that, it's quite straightforward.
Thank you, Dawood. Would anyone else like to add anything on top of that from your experience, maybe Diane or Cecile?
Well, I think it's like that was 2 years ago. So I think the way I got into was like personal statement, as you were saying, because I think at the moment, or at that time, a portfolio was not required. So personal statements sort of saying, why do you think you can fit the course? Or, well, I think you don't really have to have coding skills, but you do need to have like a passion for technology and also creativity, and just feel like you're in that middle point where you want to explore technology, but also your creative side. And I think, yeah, they read your personal statement and then you get an offer. All of this is done through you guys, I think, and then it's up to you to accept the offer or not. And then after that, then you start your enrollment process.
Thank you, Diane, for sharing your experience. Lovely. So we have 5-6 minutes left for the session. Please, if you're watching and you have any other burning question, feel free to drop it on the chat so we can cover it. And in the meantime, we're going to go through a couple of other questions that we tend to receive quite often from prospective students. And one of them is about the technical resources that are available to CCI students. Well, I think that's something very unique that we offer at CCI. There's like plenty of academic resources, technical resources, technical support. So I would love to hear from your experience, though, Diane and Cecile, about what was it like to really be using these services and resources that were available. And maybe just if you want to share in a round what's like the thing that you love the most about the infrastructure that we offer you here at CCI, and what you find the most useful in your student experience. It would be great to hear. Who would like to start? Dawood, your turn.
So in terms of resources, obviously you have your lecturers, Hooman, Kenneth, And for me, I have another robotics teacher. But in terms of resources, currently, the university, it provides, I think, one of the largest laser cutters that you can commercially own. So it's 160 by 300 centimeters. It's huge, and I've used that a couple times. On top of that, just on our floor, we have 3D printers, in the sense, and they are top of the line stuff, right? UAL in general, in terms of its the technology it has, it's actually insane. The robots that my course provides, I've had a play around, and one robot that I really found interesting was Boston Dynamics. They have a robot dog, and you saw in the video that Hooman showed at the end, the dog can walk around. I'm pretty sure it can bounce as well, jump up, run, and just all of these, like, I don't know. I know this is more resources than literal resources, but the university does have quite a lot of things to aid you with projects that you want to make. Any personal projects, even, I'm pretty sure you could use these facilities for.
Thank you, Dawood. Lovely. Diane, would you like to share something from your experience?
Yep. Yeah, so, well, just backing you up, I have also used a laser cutter before, and it's really cool. What I also like is you don't really have to pay to use these machines. So we have the 3D printers, and I think if you want to print something not super massive, but a reasonable amount, you get the filament for you to print for free as well. So it's just pretty much you having an idea and just like using the 3D printer. Recently, the technicians, we have a group of technicians, and they specialize in different things. So we've got people who know a lot about coding, or people who know about physical computing. We have Agnes, she knows about textiles and how you combine that with physical computing components. So if you have an idea, you can go to them, and they're going to help you out. They're going to help you to plan, and also to let you know what materials you might need. And in the process, if you're stuck with coding, they're also going to help you. What other thing? Well, I've been to the creative robotics lab, even though I'm not part of the course, and they are cool. They have cool stuff in there. And I think if we are also allowed to use it, since we are part of like the CCI, I guess it's just a matter of like talking to the technician again. And the physical computing lab also provides you with the components you might need. And we also have some wikis where everything is described for you to like set up if you have no idea about any component. People are also very, very helpful at the CCI.
Thank you, Diane, for sharing with us. And last but not least, Cecile, would you like to share something during your experience at CCI? What would you enjoy the most?
Yeah, hi. So when I was here, it was very nice for me that we have a very good technical team, very diverse in knowledge and very available. And I learned a lot through being able to ask technicians that know a lot about my current projects and going forward with the project that way. And I got to know about things that I have never thought about and explored a lot of different things. And it's made my time at CCI very, very interesting. So I think my favorite thing is technical stuff. I guess it's not a thing, it's people. But yeah.
Thank you, Cecile. Thank you so much. Well, we made it almost to the end of the event. And before I jump onto the final question, I wanted to ask if my colleagues here would also like to share something with the audience before we finish off. Yeah, Hooman, go ahead.
Yeah, because I was just listening to students and their experiences. And also, I want to say this is what makes CCI courses a bit special. Because if you look at computing or robotics, there are plenty of schools in the universities which are teaching it in a technical aspect. So you can go and study robotics or study computing. But in CCI, we look at it a bit different because technology is not perfect. Today, you can see, for example, with Eva now we are in our very advanced building in High Holborn in central London, and we have these smart lights, but the smart light doesn't work today. So that is technology, that is innovation. In CCI, we are thinking about creativity. So it's beyond that. In your critical thinking ways, we will talk about, okay, I can have this advanced IoT system, which is basically sensor. I don't need to touch anything. I go there, it works. But is it practical? Is it something I want to use? I can make that robot dog that Dawood just mentioned and we showed you in the video, but can I use that dog to be used in the rescue in the earthquake, or can I use it in a dangerous situation, or I can use it for military and destroy human civilization, right? So that is the view that we want to emphasize. That is what we want to teach you in CCI and in our program. Just let technology take over, but we are trying to look into human-centered technology, and hopefully the creativity will be one part of it.
Thanks so much, Hooman, for jumping and sharing that. Beautiful. So before we make it to the end of the session, I would like to do one last round and ask all my colleagues here and students to answer to this question, which is, what is the CCI community like? You can share maybe a couple of words, a line, 2 lines, whatever that comes through for now right now will be fantastic to hear. And I'm going to start with the first person on the screen, who is Eva.
Thanks, Georgina. So CCI community, what it's like, I think the thing that I like about it is that it's incredibly diverse, both in terms of skill sets, knowledge, understanding, where people are coming from, and that makes it a really sort of rich environment to work in, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Eva. Ken, you're next. What is the CCI community like to you?
Yeah, so the CCI community kind of for me is a community that kind of endlessly surprises me. There's always people doing new, interesting things that I may not have thought of, but I wish I have thought of. So that I think is very exciting.
Thank you, Ken. Dawood, your turn.
Mostly repeating what Eva said. The community, especially in my courses, is so diverse, and getting to see different points of view on a number of things, right? Be that in class or outside of class, it's very eye-opening.
Thank you, Dawood. Diane, your turn.
Well, I think it's a space for exploration, and it's a space to think about our role as practitioners within technologies and what's up to come with AI and machine learning, and what role we play in this, and also how supportive everyone is. I think I really like that from the community.
Thank you, Diana. Hooman.
I wake up in the morning and I think, what should I do today? Should I go to the gym? Should I go to the cafe? Should I meet my friends? Or should I go to CCI? And usually CCI is the best choice because you meet really interesting people from different backgrounds and quite unique characters. And yeah, it's a very interesting community in that case. That is so good that sometimes I say, okay, maybe some days I should skip that and go to the gym. But yeah, most of the day CCI is the choice.
Thank you, Hooman. Love that. Okay, and lastly, Cecile, what is the CCI community like to you?
To me, it was very interesting. It was just always a lot of interesting thoughts and conversations, just talking to people around. And I think a big part of the knowledge I have from my courses, from conversations, informal conversations I've had with students and staff around the CCI.
Thank you, Cecile. Wow, thanks everyone for sharing your thoughts and experiences. That was fantastic to hear. And we finally made it to the end of the session. So I wanted to first of all thank you, Eva, Ken, Daoud, Diana, Hooman, and Cecile for being here and sharing about your experiences, about the courses, and talking about yourselves as well, about CCI and the beautiful mission that we have here. It was amazing to hear from all of you. And right now, before we wrap this session up, I wanted to mention that, as I mentioned at the beginning, this session will be re-uploaded on our YouTube channel. So in case that you missed the beginning of the session or you would like to rewatch the whole session, you can do so at your own pace. We will be uploading it in the next couple days. And overall, I just hope that it was an insightful, useful session, that your questions about the BSc in creative computing and creative robotics were answered. If there's anything else that came up that we didn't cover during the open event, please feel free to email us on our inbox. We're always open to receive questions and answer to any queries. So please reach out to cci@arts.ac.uk. We're gonna paste the email on the chat. So please feel free to reach out if we can help you with anything. And I also invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You'll find lots of content on creative computing, creative robotics, lots of fun things to look through, talks, a lot of content over there for you to get excited about joining us here at CCI. And talking about excitement, if we got you excited, even if it's a tiny little bit, to join this institution and this community of talented human beings here at CCI, then our mission today is accomplished. So thanks everyone for watching and for staying with us until now. And we look forward to meeting you in real life very soon. Thanks everyone. Take care.
Bye.